Today I'm going to be going over some things that will hopefully make it easier for you to make renders like this. In order to create these rocks, these floating rocks here, I actually used like this displaced plane where I scattered stuff on, and the way to make this like not visible in the render, Blender actually has a pretty straightforward way of doing that. Just go to the object properties here, and then in visibility, you want to turn everything off. I think these should be like all on by default. If I look at this one, yeah, these are all on. So if you turn all of these off, then you'll be able to have this object with the stuff scattered on it, and the scattered stuff will still be visible as long as those objects are visible. But the plane here, the displaced plane, won't be visible. Now, another thing you're going to want to look at how you've balanced the size of your different objects. So for example, in this scene, like we have our large object, which is like the planet, and then we have smaller objects floating around and the stars. But then we also have medium-sized assets like this big rock here and this galaxy in the middle ground, and then some other ones in the background. Now, as far as lighting, I actually don't like the physically based workflow for lighting, and I think it oftentimes makes things look quite lame and like, just not enough contrast. So ideally, you should have like different parts of your image with different exposure. Now, this plane isn't the best example of this, but you can see it because like there's a lot of shadows, right? There's like these there's these shadows here, but then there's more brighter areas as well. And if you have everything, well, if everything is shadow, then you won't be able to see anything. But if everything is bright, then it's going to look quite, like I said, boring. You don't really have emphasis on different parts of the image, first of all, but second of all, it kind of de-emphasizes the texture. This is only an analogy, but like what you're looking at is the material. You're not really looking at the lighting, but it's just that the lighting really makes an effect that the viewer has to look at indirectly because the light source is typically not right next to the object. So I actually have like 4 sun lamps. This one is for lighting up the planet. This one is for some areas of the plane. And then like in different directions, because like if I hide one of these, it's going to darken a little bit. And we actually lose some detail because it's just not really showing those shadows as much. Yeah, so you can see it right here. If I Alt H, now that you can see that, if I press H again, it's kind of gone, that specular highlight there. Now we can also light up our scenes with point lights. So here you can see like this point light is really the only light source that's lighting up this plane. But this is how you get like a more cinematic look in scenarios where you have like a campfire or something. You have like this one bright light source and then everything else around it is dark. Well, point lights are a good way of creating that effect, and as you distribute these point lights around, you'll start to see that cinematic effect kind of going across the entire plane. One thing you want to be careful of is to make sure that it's not super obvious that there's fake light coming onto here. So if I move this right next to the plane, then you can see like there's a fake light there. You can actually change the color of the light, and that can sometimes help, because no light in real life is like pure white. It doesn't matter if you're, out there exploring in space or whatever, or on Earth. Just kind of find the right balance between radius and power, but also not so far away that it just kind of looks bland when you just increase the wattage. Like, that's not good because it's just brightening up everything, which is what I was talking about earlier. So, you know, usually fairly close to the light source, but not right next to it is a pretty good call. Although you can actually go right next to it if you use a really low wattage. And, you know, just distributing these around can work depending on the situation, but here I don't think it. I mean, the more lights you add, the more your performance cost is going to be, is my understanding. So, you know, it's not too bad here. I think it's working out okay. But again, the emphasis should be on having different amounts of light in different areas. It can still be done where you make everything look even. So that's with like lights really close up to there. And that gives us something that looks like this. If we start a little bit further away, then we can bring this around. The thing to keep in mind here is that you're only lighting up this area. It's not going to light up other parts of your scene like a sun lamp will. So now we have this. So hopefully that helps you guys create more interesting looking renders. Thank you for watching.